Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Almost 30 Podcast.
Hi, everybody. It's Lindsey and Krista. Welcome to the show. If you're new, welcome. We're so glad you're here. And if you're an OG, welcome back. Thank you for your support. Thanks for being here. We just opened up our membership again, so community vibes are high.
They're popping. We had so we did camp, which was the best, one of the best things that we do here at Almost 30. And our dear friend Jill Winterstein from Spirit Daughter shared. And oh my gosh, because she has such a big audience, the people that were new and didn't know us that were like, do you have to be 30? Is this only for 30-year-olds? Is this only for people that were almost 30? And I was like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot about that. I forgot about that like limit.
Mm-hmm. Do you think we should make that our tag, like a new tagline, just as like a thing?
I changed our Instagram bio. And so I put, no, you don't need to be almost 30 to listen, just to be like super, super clear. But it was like so cute. I was like, oh my gosh, you guys know it's like, it's all good. We're actually over 30. We started it before when we were almost 30 and really didn't know it was going to turn into anything. But like Lindsey said, we have a membership, we have courses and content. We support podcasters in launching, growing, and monetizing their podcast. We have the Sacredness of Being Single program. We have Life Edit, which is coming this year. So we just do everything we can to really support you in your evolution. And we're so, grateful you chose us as a podcast to listen to today.
And it's so interesting. If you're an OG, you know that at the beginning of this podcast, we talked so much about our bodies and health and just so much going on way back in the day. If you listen to earlier episodes, whether it was hormone journeys, skin health, and more. And so this episode today, it's kind of cool because one, I realize how far we've come. And then also just feeling so grateful that we have this type of technology like Base in order to continue to just know ourselves, especially on that physical level, really, really well.
Yeah, I feel like there's so many different like diets and methodologies and information. It's like you should be monitoring your insulin levels. You should be monitoring your sugar. You should be monitoring your carbs. You should be keto, you should be plant-based, you should be, intermittent fasting, you should be fasting. Like there's so much information out there. I actually really feel for people and I feel for myself in that because it's like as soon as you do something or learn something, it changes or there's new information out there or there's new research or, it's like such a journey as far as like disseminating and discerning health information to feel like and understand what's best for you. But I do love Base that it gives you the actual data behind what you need to be doing or what you should be doing. And I love that in the suggestions, I don't know if you saw this in your app, but when I did my testing, like the suggestions they gave were not like a prescription. It was like very tactical. It was like use cinnamon, meditate, go on walks, add the supplement to your diet potentially. Like it was actually very easy things to add to our life that weren't, I don't know. I was kind of expecting it to be like more, I was like, oh, you're not trying to funnel me into buying more things or like changing my life completely. It felt like really easy and accessible things to add to your life.
Yeah, I was also very surprised. I feel like we overcomplicate things when it comes to our health. And I think sometimes it does feel good to just be like, okay, fine, I'll just get that supplement rather than look at how am I moving my body every week? Is it too intense? Is it not intense enough? Or how am I incorporating a mindfulness practice? Like those things are, I think, a little bit harder because it takes practice, because it takes active choice rather than like, okay, I'm just going to take my supplements at 5 p.m. every day and see what happens. But I think with these types of suggestions, like my focus test was shit. And I was like, what? My vitamin D levels, my HbA1c levels were a bit off, but I was recommended energizing proteins like oily fish, like a salmon, 2 to 3 pieces a week, energize your body. So recommending like interval training because I had been very much chilling with my workouts and I apparently am needing at least just a couple more high intensity workouts a week. And of course, vitamin D for those levels. That improves mood and focus. And it's something we hear a lot, but how are we implementing that? Am I getting enough sunlight? Am I also supplementing that? And then also getting it in food. I think that's a missing piece for me, where I'm not necessarily thinking about the food that holds the minerals and nutrients that I'm lacking.
I have no idea what food has vitamin D.
Yeah, it's a
Like
great
literally,
question.
I have no idea. Like if you were like vitamin C, I'm like, I got you, an orange. Like a lot of micronutrients and like vitamin B, I'm like bee pollen, but I actually have no idea what food isn't have vitamin D. I actually had good vitamin D levels, which is like a major flex. I was super proud of that, but my cortisol levels were fucked. I had the cortisol test, which I'm always trying to be mindful of that because of my adrenals. And I had really low cortisol production in the morning and at night. So basically, when you have prolonged stress, you can exhaust your adrenals from producing cortisol or irregular, or if you have irregular sleep schedules, it can really mess up your cortisol. So given that, cortisol is really important for energy levels, it's actually good to have your cortisol be highest in the morning. And mine was super low. It really explained like feeling tired and not feeling rested, and just really pointed to me that my adrenals are something that I always need to be mindful of. And that although I feel so much better than I did when I had adrenal fatigue years ago, it's like, you're not really done. And that stress impacts you in so many more ways than you think. You think you're just like stressed and you're uncomfortable and you like, are just, you feels like it's an emotional feeling where you're like, oh my gosh, emotionally, I feel stressed. I don't like this feeling, but there's actually so much more happening with stress in your body. And it affects so much more of your life, like your immune system, your cortisol levels. Like it just is very important that we are mindful of our stress. And although it's like a general thing for us to be like, stress less, reduce your stress, it can be really hard when it creeps in and your baseline level is stressed. And I feel like as a culture and as a society, our baseline level is just stressed all the time. And so how can we work to reduce stress overall so that we don't have so many of these things? Like for me, the low cortisol all day, where I'm having to figure out how to increase my energy and support my body because I've had so much prolonged stress. So the cortisol test was crazy.
Yeah. The good stress and bad stress, like the body doesn't know how to, it's the same, right?
Mm-hmm. That's what they say. They're like, yeah, hit workouts are good stress on the body. And then like stress with work is bad stress. I don't know if it's something where it's like with workouts, obviously we're not professionals, but like with workouts, it's good stress because it's a physical movement that's actually allowing your body to do something in its system where it's, damaging muscles to repair them, to rebuild. And then when you're like just stressed in the mind, your body doesn't really know what to do with that energy. And so it kind of gets stuck or stored in the body.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But I mean, the high intensity I feel like there's a point at which you can overdo it and then it really does become actual stress on your body. And we've both kind of, done that in the past. But yeah, I really love their tests for many reasons. Quick, easy. Krista got over her fear of pricking her finger.
Dude, so what I did is normally what I do for these tests is I'll shave my legs and like my toes and see if there's any blood that like happens to, if I cut myself, I'm like, oh my God, I have to take a test. So I'll put like my bloody toe or my bloody leg over the tests panels and I'll be like, perfect. I didn't have to poke myself. But this time I was like, I need to be an adult and be able to prick myself. So I took a shower and I was steaming hot. My blood was like at the surface of my skin because I was so hot. And I just took it and I literally did it in like the fatty part of your forearm that kind of like it's like fatty and like doesn't have a lot of muscle. And I got really good blood. And so I took literally 3 tests. I was like dropping the blood everywhere. I was like, please, but I do not like that. Like I just am trying to love my body enough where I'm not hurting it in any way. And I hate when there's like any elective pain that you're providing even on your body, like even with Botox and fillers. Like I haven't gotten them in years because I'm just like, I don't want to, like, I literally can't imagine needles by choice in my body right now. And that's literally me being insane, but ugh.
No, I completely agree. Well, I was taking the test. I think it was like, it's basically the test that's like all in all-in test. It tests many, many things. And you had to get quite a bit of blood in one little container vial thing. And I fucking knocked it over twice. Yeah. And I was like, is this a joke? Like, I don't twice. I was like, I need to relax. I'm clearly
survive.
a little hyped. Yeah. I was on the floor. Sean walked in. He's like, what the hell? No, I was fine, but it is annoying. It's not annoying, but it was annoying that like, I was kind of, I knew I was like, I'm in a rush. I'm doing this test. So I just I grounded myself a little bit and was present with just putting it in the damn vial. But it is a really easy process. So whether it's collecting saliva, collecting blood, and you get results within, I think it's like 10 days is the average, possibly less, depending on, like just the postal service basically. But they're really quick at the labs, and you get the results to your phone, like to your app on your phone. And it could not be easier. So I'm really excited. I'm excited to introduce it to you all and just to get to know Lola. She's an incredible founder. I was like blown away by her career trajectory. Fascinated me because it felt like, hindsight's 2020, but the dots connected so beautifully in what she was interested in. And then also what was happening with her personal health and just how it birthed into Base. And, so we talk a lot about that, a lot about her personal health journey that I think a lot of people are going to relate to. She was one of the people that went, keto, and it really messed up her hormones. Her levels were all sorts of funk. And in her experience getting blood work done and tests and all these things, she just realized how kind of slow, archaic, hard to understand that whole process is for people who just want to get to the root of what's going on with them. So, yeah, it was really fascinating. She answers a bunch of my questions as I go through different results and just different, symptoms that we might be experiencing, whether it's fatigue, brain fog, low energy, or perhaps can't sleep at night very well. And, we go through what those levels, might mean and what you can do about them.
Yeah, I think it's so important for people that want to start a business or want to find their purpose and passion. And sometimes you find that in the challenging situations or in the hard parts of your life or in the parts of your journey that feel really sticky or feel really off. And for her, it was a health journey that felt like it was making her sick or did make her sick and her wanting to find a better way. So I love these stories because I think it gives people a really good example of how they can think about challenges in their life as opportunities to create something new or to do something new and not seeing as their purpose being something that they just like falls in their lap one day. Like it often happens in situations like this where you're like, there's a better way. And I feel really personally called to the situation. So I'm excited to hear the story. And I really love Base. I love that I can have a test that validates my intuition, confirms how I'm feeling, and so I can leverage it to stay intuitive with things because I like to be intuitive as much as I can with my body. And it's just nice to have the validation. So I'm like, yeah, I was on the right track, or maybe I should be thinking a little bit differently about something. And I'm excited to hear this interview with Lola at Base.
Yeah. And for all of you that would love to try Base, we got you. get-base.com/almost30 and use the code almost30. You will get 20% off your first month of membership. And what's awesome is that they're going to send you tests on a regular basis so that you can keep up with your levels and check in to see how you are doing. So it's all automated. It's really convenient. A Base membership starts at $59.95 a month or quarterly, depending on the frequency you want to test. It's totally up to you. So get-base.com/almost30. Use the code almost30. You'll get 20% off. And yeah, to learn more about Almost 30 and everything we got going on, almost30.com. We have a really special event coming up. It's totally free. I am hosting the Sacredness of Being Single Circle. So this is happening on February 13th. You can find out more information at almost30.com/sacredness of being single. And this is going to be a gathering for people that find themselves in that season of their lives. Or if you are called, if maybe you are in between relationships, one toe in, one toe out, and are feeling called to know yourself better in this season, please come, bring a friend. And we are going to be opening enrollment for the Sacredness of Being Single program after this circle, and we'll be starting in March. So stay tuned for that.
Going to be a good one. I'm excited to see what comes out of that. We love you guys so much. Thank you for being part of our community. Thank you, Lola, for joining us on the podcast. And we'll see you on the other side.
Thanks, y'all. Perfect. We'll just roll right in. I'm so happy you're here, Lola. I was just telling Lola, everyone, that I got my 3rd round of base tests, and the results, I think sometimes when we take health tests, it's always like an interesting process because there's a part of our human that doesn't want to know the answer. Mm-hmm. But then there's like a big part of us that wants to know the exact answer. Mm-hmm. So I was actually really nervous to look at my results, both Krista and I. And we looked at them, we were like, okay, there's so much truth here. It's kind of hard to look at because there were some levels that were like really off and kind of leaning in the poor direction, but I can't unknow it. So it's actually been super, super empowering because now I know what to do, how to support myself, how to increase and or just like better the levels. So it's just been a really cool process, but welcome to Almost 30.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So glad you're here. And I was telling Lola that our community is just so obsessed with feeling their best. And I'm so happy that we are at that point in our evolution on Earth, because I do feel like if we think about maybe older generations or our parents, I don't know if that was in the zeitgeist or that was in their consciousness to really make an effort to feel really good instead of just settle for okay. So I'm just really, really happy that we have that awareness and also the tools like a base. But we'd love for you to introduce yourself to our audience, and your story is incredible. I'm pretty fascinated when I track people's careers and just lives in general and how the dots connect so perfectly and synchronistically. So whatever comes to mind to share with the audience, go for it.
Awesome. Yeah, I guess it all started with college. I went to med school and then I transitioned to engineering school because I wanted to make an impact. But I saw that by doing med school, it was going to be hard to scale, the impact. Mm-hmm. Versus engineering, I saw a clear path of building something that could make people healthier at larger scale. And what actually happened after that is that I came to the US to do a master's in artificial intelligence just because it was hot. It was just getting, started. And I ended up working at Amazon in products related to personalization and recommendations. Which was super interesting, to later change to work for Facebook and Instagram, more specifically helping the product grow from 500 million users to 1 billion monthly active users, which I learned a lot about so many things on like how to make something engaging and, interactive, and a product like Instagram that probably most of us use in a weekly basis, right? And what happened then was that it's 3 p.m. and, you're in front of your computer and you just cannot power through. And that was repeatedly, 5, 6 p.m. And then you have plans and I couldn't, I didn't feel like I had the energy. At the time, I was 27 years old. So, of course, it was not going to be my age. Whether, some people mistakenly blame that they are 40 and they have kids and they attribute that to the fact that they are tired. The reality is that there's so much more coming into play. So at the time, I was very data-driven, senior software engineer, working in a lot of things related to data and personalization. And all I wanted to know is like, where is this fatigue, chronic fatigue coming from? Like, why it's 5 p.m. and I don't have energy to go to the gym and then go out for drinks and so forth. And you go to Dr. Google, why am I tired? A million of, different tips and advice come up. And my question was like, okay, which one is the one that I need to implement?
Mm-hmm.
So long story short, I ended up doing the keto diet. And that kind of helped. I was feeling slightly better, but not truly. And 3-4 months in, things really started to feel off. My period got cycles got out of whack. And eventually, because I went to med school at the time, my colleagues were already doctors. So, and one of my best friends is an endocrinologist now. So I called her and I'm like, okay, this is going on. I need to do lab work. So tell me, what should I request to my doctor? Because I think at the time, the keto diet, this was early 2017.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of becoming mainstream, but not really. And
this is so for people that don't know, I know it's pretty mainstream now, but it's mainly meat and dairy. And what is the point? Because it's taking out carbohydrates, right?
You take carbs out, which eventually what it does is that you start to burn fat because your body, doesn't have that, the energy from carbs to power through. So you're forcing your body to burn fat. And then you, theoretically that gives you more energy and that also makes you lose weight. So both things. And I did lose a lot of weight. I think it was around 10 pounds probably at the beginning. So caveat, you definitely will gain that back. Especially if you don't eat the right fats. But long story short, I went to the doctor with that list of tests. And sure enough, when I told him that I was doing that diet to feel better, he looked at me like I was a weirdo.
He's like, so let's talk about the cheddar cheese.
Yeah. So it was an interesting convo, but eventually I got those tests approved. And 1 month later, when I got my results, I learned that my chronic fatigue was coming from a severe deficiency in vitamin B12 and folate. Now, I would have never imagined that that was a thing to look into for brain fog and fatigue. And to top it off, that long-term keto diet gave me thyroid imbalances and also made my cholesterol, LDL, to skyrocket. I was not choosing the right fats. So the doctor looked at me and was, he turned to me and he was like, I can prescribe you some meds for this cholesterol. And I'm like, hold on. I was healthy before I started this journey. I'm just going to adjust my diet. I don't really need, this prescription.
Sure.
And that was an eye-opening moment that there was, an entire market out there of people that feel fatigue, feel anxious, they cannot lose weight, feel bloated, digestive issues, stress, skin issues, and they don't know, what to do. Should you get a prescription medicine? Should you tackle it with nutritional changes, lifestyle, which ones? Where is this really coming from? And so forth. So eventually after that experience, it became clear to me that all of the tools that I have been developing at the time for big tech companies, cutting edge technology, I got a couple of patents too on that. So basically helping people shop more, buy more, be more engaged, be more connected, which is great. But I clearly saw at the time that all of those tools that we are creating for engagement, personalization, data-driven technology is not being applied to our health and wellness. And I left big tech to work for a medical device running the engineering department. And eventually I found the base when I saw, a clear path on how to help people.
Fascinating. I feel like, yeah, there's a lens through which we can see kind of the need. And I think that's like such a eyes open, ears open, kind of heart open way to be. And especially being so in tune with your own experience and knowing that you couldn't be the only one going through this. What did you see at that medical device company that inspired you to found Base? Was there a hole there?
Yeah. So the number one thing was to get a chance to work with scientists.
Mm-hmm.
And the medical device is basically a lab testing device. So that also gave me a chance to understand how the lab industry works. And most importantly, number two, I got to test myself almost every day.
Oh, wow. Fun.
Yeah, it was fun because we were building this device. So in order to
Cool.
calibrate the machine, and this is true. So for example, when you get lab work done,
Mhm.
there are machines by Abbott, Siemens, and so forth, right? That analyze those biomarkers. So for me, in order to develop new technology, what you do, and new machines, what you do is to what you call calibrate the device, where you put your sample there, and from the same sample that you collected, you put it in another existing machine, and then you compare it to see if it's calibrated. And through testing myself constantly, I learned a whole lot from the relationship in between cortisol and anxiety, for example, and coffee. So how those three play together. If I bike to work without having breakfast, my triglycerides and inflammation and cortisol are very stable. So I'm able to be more focused. From vitamin deficiency related to seasonality, and a whole lot of things, and also like melatonin and jet lag, like a million of things that later I put together to actually create Base. And what I realized while I was there is that helping or pushing lab technology forward will become helpful. But at the end of the day, today we already have the tools for people to access lab testing. So what I saw that was missing is what I was doing, in the background. I was basically taking my results and then pinging the scientists that I was working with to understand, what was going on with my body. And depending on what I wanted to improve or optimize, if I wanted to lose weight, I would talk to them. I would collect the biomarkers that are involved in those processes. I would measure them. And then I would go to clinical trials to understand what actually improved the ones that are off for me. And then I would improve those with recommendations, and I would lose weight. So I started doing that manually, just in a,
You're the
very
guinea
hacky
pig.
way. Yeah, exactly. And eventually I'm like, when I would tell my friends, everyone was like, I want to do it too. And that's when it clicked that there's, again, like a whole new market and people out there that are frustrated because they just don't know, and they want to improve something, but they have lost hope.
Yes.
Because they've tried something, it didn't work, and eventually you just accept that's who you are. And the reality is that sometimes it's not you. There's something out there that could help you, but you just haven't found it yet.
Yeah, definitely. It can be so frustrating because I think we live in a society now where there's so much at our fingertips. We can scroll Instagram and get 50 health recommendations, a few outfits, this, that, the other thing. And we don't know necessarily, I think the filter has weakened as far as like what is for us, especially when it comes to health. It has to be backed by science because every one of us is so unique and so different and living in a different environment. And I want to go back just for a moment because I thought it was interesting how severely the keto affected your thyroid and your hormones. Can you speak to that as far as how that's different between men and women? Did you find anything out during that period?
Yep. And we can talk about this cyclical keto after that, and skin, which
yes, please.
Yeah, it's going to be
we
another
were talking about skin before this. I was like, yes. Because I find that there are so many people suffering with skin issues and they don't know why.
Yeah. And the reality is that you try to fix something and then you can screw up something else.
Yes.
So that's another thing with diets, right? You don't know what's gonna be the secondary effects of a dietary change. You may be compromising on your fatigue, your energy, your skin, depending on which diet you choose. And it's important to know what are the trade-offs too. So for the keto diet, now we know that long-term keto diets for women tend to alter their hormones. And that's because in order to power our cycles or menstrual cycles, you need carbohydrates. So when you truly and fully restrict your, your body from carbohydrate intake, your cycle is going to get messed up, and then you will tend to have that thyroid imbalance, which is not true for men. Everyone needs carbs, for example, to sleep, and insulin and melatonin are also correlated. So for men, usually in long-term keto diets, whether it's possible and they can do it, they would have some sleeping problems related to that. But it's not going to be as severe as women because of that menstrual cycle and the hormonal game that I mentioned. So now we know that long-term keto diets compromise on thyroid for women. At the time, it was not known because, again, in early 2017, it was not mainstream. But for anyone doing, that high-fat, low-carb diet, just watch out for your hormones, because it's something that I experienced myself, and we see people like members at base having the same problem. What's true for the high-fat and low-carb diet is that a lot of people choose their fats wrong. You tend to eat a lot of, bacon or like red meat, cheese, butter, so forth, right? That
Sure.
It's just going to be, you may consider those healthy fats, but the reality is that a lot of people have trouble processing those. And about 60% or 50% of people that come to us to measure their diet levels, when they are in this kind of diet, they have cholesterol problems. And whether it is okay for your cholesterol to go slightly up, if it really goes up, you're going to be putting yourself at risk of, heart disease and a few other things that you don't want to. In addition to, you're going to lose that ability to lose weight and a few other things. So choosing your fats wisely is going to be important. For me, again, at the time, I was, going all on red meat and bacon, because at the time,
That's what was advertised. Like It was almost like a shock factor when people were talking about the keto diet. It's like, eat red meat, cheese, and butter, and you're going to lose weight. And people are like, what? That's my favorite food. Perfect. And so it like almost spoke to that like part of us that's like, yeah, I do want to eat those things. But like you said, kind of without the studies and the science behind, like, well, it's not all fats. Yeah. Okay. So which ones were healthy for you?
So for me, I do refined coconut oil in my coffee. I don't do butter anymore. Like at least I have a little bit of butter here and there, but I don't go crazy on it. For cheese, I've, restricted my cheese intake, and I just really limit this to avocado and olive oil, some nuts, and I make sure to keep an eye on my fats in general. I do red meat occasionally, but again, because I took red meat out, the problem is like then I became iron deficient. So like this is the problem with diets. It's just so complicated, and the same body in different times is going to react differently to a given diet. And we were just talking about, also the effect on certain fats on your skin. And it's funny because after, I think, 4 years, so after that happened in early 2017, I changed to a cyclical keto diet, which means I eat my fats in the morning. So I skip any fruit, anything in the morning. And I have my carbs at night. And I generally choose maybe just one piece of fruit or like some white rice. Like I'm very intentional with my carbs as well. And after 4 years, something that has been happening since then is like my skin, I would start getting some acne here and there, specifically around the time where I get my period. And I bought everything in the market, every kind of cleanser. Like I tried them all because, of course, you want to invest in your skin.
Sure.
And it was literally 3 weeks ago or like 4 weeks ago that I just had it. I'm like, there must be something else going on in here because I've tried it all and nothing is working. So let me go. There must be a correlation with my hormones because why? Like I see it tied to my cycle. So I started talking to the functional medicine doctors in our board, and they were like, "Oh yeah, testosterone is going to be really related to that." Because it powers the cysts under your skin. So if your testosterone is high, which I'm like, yep, it is high. It's going to cause that. Which in my head, I'm like, great, my testosterone is high. Which, by the way, is the hormone in charge of burning fat. So I'm like, amazing. Like I eat a lot. I'm a fatty, but like I don't gain a lot of weight because my testosterone is high. And long story short, is also related to your skin and your skin health, especially
Can
if you're
we
looking
win?
more.
Can we like get both or what?
Yeah, like it's really like the ideal thing here is just to have things like on the optimal. It's just like high or low is never going to be beneficial. But yeah, it's just so complicated. Imagine doing this without the data.
I know, that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
That's literally the whole thing. And I did it for years and it literally made me so crazy. So crazy because I would try things and it takes time to kind of like eliminate certain things from your diet or maybe increase workouts, decrease workouts, get more sleep, drink more water. And it's like, you don't know which one it is unless you're isolating these factors one at a time. So it takes time and I'm not a doctor, so I don't know.
Yeah.
So it's just been helpful with the data.
Yeah.
So did you experience, this cyclical keto, it's really interesting you say carbs at night. I guess what is the benefit or how does that work in your body so that we're not storing the carbs as fat or storing the carbs as something?
Yeah. So you don't, the way this diet works is that you don't eat enough carbs to store those.
Got it.
So then in the morning after fasting for a little bit and then having your coffee with some coconut refined oil, you start to get into ketosis again. So you get the benefits of like getting that boost of energy at the beginning of your day. That's why you don't have carbs at the beginning of your day because, the reality is that you want your body to be active with that type of energy in the morning and afternoon. And then while getting in the evening, again, carbs are really helpful for sleeping and to get a good night's sleep.
Okay.
And in that case, that's when I get my carbs. And then you burn those throughout the night. And then in the morning, again, you're able to get in ketosis. So that's how that diet works. But yeah, and to your point as well, to how hard it is to get things right. And then it's just you go by isolation. The problem is like some secondary effects. Like it happened to me after testing myself so often that like it took me 4 years and even with the data to realize that there has been a collateral effect to my diet that is optimal for everything else. But I just needed to remove some of that cheese to then, gain my skin health back again.
Yeah, I fasted pretty much every day when I was in LA for probably about 2 years. And what I realized was around the time that I got my period, I would still fast. And so I'm not quite sure about the science behind this, although I've heard Lisa Vitti talk about it a little bit, but that I would feel absolutely terrible around my period, like worse than normal. And I think having a breakfast in the morning, like having and not fasting around my period definitely supported me in feeling better, having more energy, less cramps. Like it just didn't take me down like it would when I would fast. So I've just been more mindful around like kind of cycle syncing that fasting because I really do love fasting in the morning and I have my like bulletproof coffee. You're making me think about the butter that I put in my coffee. I'll rethink that because we'll look at my test later. But yeah, there was like, I forget the specific data marker, but it was like if you are eating too many saturated fats, this is going to be elevated or a poor whatever. So I was like, the butter. Because I don't really eat red meat and it's, I'm not keto, but I do love my bulletproof. So I've been kind of paying attention to that. I want to talk about because I think what makes Base unique and just this whole experience unique is kind of the quickness to which like you can get your results and really start implementing the suggestions. So can you kind of walk us through the process of taking a base test, getting your results, and just kind of how people, because I think let's take away that story that we have that's like, when we get lab tests, it's hard. I'm not going to understand it. Like it's inaccessible. So I kind of want to walk people through the process.
Yeah. So the first step is generally to take a short quiz, 5 minutes, where you would tell us more about the issue that you have, or like if there's something that you want to optimize. So we see people, that want to fix their brain fog or anxiety, weight loss, bloating, digestive issues, skin, to, we have people that want to work on their general health, or that have a relative that passed away from Alzheimer's and they really want to monitor the markers related to that and prevent any issues with those. So the first step is really to understand, what are you trying to do? In some cases, we may say like, listen, we cannot help you with this issue. So we start with that. And then we tell you exactly, how are we going to be able to help you? We ask you a bit more about your medical conditions, if any, if you take any supplements, so forth. And then based on all of that, we have actually AI and technology that we put together, supervised by the best functional medicine doctors, that will prescribe specific tests for you. So we can understand, like, hey, given this issue or this thing that you're experiencing and your medical profile, you're likely to be deficient in this vitamin, or this hormone is likely to be off. So this also help us actually narrow down the things that you have to test to decrease cost, make it more accessible and easy to collect, it's really fun. And then after that, you can choose to collect your test at home, or you can go to a Quest Diagnostics, depending on what you prefer. 90% of our users prefer to take the test at home. Me too. I'm just so busy. Like
I know.
that.
Same.
Even though like I have Quest not that far from my place, it's just so easy to just get it at home and do it and mail it back. So again, you pick your poison, Quest or at home. And if you choose at home, you either do a saliva sample, like 23andMe, or you would do a finger prick, which the first time that people do this, they have a FaceTime call with one of our team members that would, do the finger prick with you and all of that to teach you, right? Like, and to be there with you for support, because some people are squeamish.
Yes. Krista is one of those people. She actually would, in the past, when she's taken blood tests, she would nick her leg and use that blood, which is not recommended.
That's hilarious.
Definitely had shaving cream in it, was not accurate. Yeah. But she would be so scared. But she actually did it and it was super easy and she loved it. Yeah.
That's hilarious. Yeah, like the finger prick tutorials are actually quite fun. I have to say, I have not participated in any of those, but I talk to the people that do them and it's just so much fun to hear the stories. So anyhow, then you mail that back 5 business days later, you get a notification, you have your results. And again, depending on which plan or what are you trying to solve, we would pinpoint where things are coming from and would say like, hey, listen, your skin issue is coming from this hormone, or like you cannot lose weight because your testosterone is too low and it's a fat burning hormone. So we need to introduce some healthy fats to your diet. We will give you a few recommendations that you can choose from, nutritional and lifestyle recommendations. And the idea is that you pick one of those and then 1 month later, you retest the effect to make sure that we are actually fixing that level. Because at the end of the day, no one body is the same. And the idea is that we recommend something to you with a certain levels of confidence, because that has worked for a lot of people and we've seen that. And it's also supervised by our functional medicine doctors. But the idea is that you actually do it and you can see if your levels got fixed. And that's how, we had this 2 to 3 months program where we help people improve their symptoms.
Yeah, I am about to take my 3rd test, and I didn't really understand, okay, what are these recommendations going to be? Is it going to be complicated? But it was funny when I saw my recommendations, I was like, oh, this is actually, if I got out of my own way, this is kind of intuitively what like my body was asking me to do. For example, I think one of the recommendations, and I'll have to see what the data marker was correlated to it, but was to incorporate more interval, like high intensity interval workouts. And I've talked about this on the pod, but I used to be a SoulCycle instructor teaching 3 classes a day, really high intensity. My adrenals were shot. And then after I quit, I really slowed down. It's like walking, yoga, like maybe high intensity once a week. But actually now, like it really behooves me to be incorporating that high intensity, maybe like 2 to 3 times a week in shorter like periods. And I felt much, much better. I was noticing even just like my nervous system was feeling better, was feeling more rested at the end of the day, where I was like, okay, rather than kind of this like buzzy feeling that I felt. So yeah, it was really helpful, but also surprising. I was like, oh, I would have never thought about that. I think it hit me the other day. I will never not take athletic greens. I just realized how much better I felt. I went 3 days without taking my athletic greens in the morning, putting my little powder pouch in my cold water, mixing it up and shooting it back. And I felt different. My digestion wasn't as good. My energy wasn't as high. So I don't think I will never not take it. If you're not familiar with Athletic Greens, this program is brought to you by Athletic Greens, has been for a long time now. This is the health and wellness company that makes comprehensive daily nutrition really, really, really simple. We know that there are a lot of stressors in life and it's difficult to maintain the effective nutritional habits and give our bodies the nutrients it needs to thrive. So if you have busy schedules, poor sleep, can't really exercise too much, the environment, work stress, simply not eating enough or the right foods, we understand that you could be deficient in key nutritional areas. So AG1 by Athletic Greens is the category-leading superfood product, which brings comprehensive and convenient daily nutrition to everybody. This is literally one scoop, and you're going to get 75 vitamins, minerals, and whole food sourced ingredients, including a multivitamin, multi-mineral probiotic, and a greens superfood blend. It is one damn scoop, and I just mix it easily with cold water. This is going to fill the nutritional gaps in your diet, support your energy and focus and gut health and digestion, and really support a healthy immune system. I'm so excited for you because we have a bonus. So when you subscribe, you are going to get a year's worth. That's right. Year's worth of vitamin D, as well as 5 free travel packs. You got that? Those are my favorite. I put them in every bag that I have. So go to athleticgreens.com/almost30. athleticgreens.com/almost30. You'll get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase if you visit athleticgreens.com/almost30. athleticgreens.com/almost30. Your first purchase, you're going to get free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs. Okay, coming to you from the future, Krista and I are absolutely obsessed with the products from Bite. Okay, so it was weird at first, but their Bite toothpaste bits are so cute, so convenient. You just pop a bit in your mouth, chew it up, and start brushing. It will turn to paste just like you're used to, but with no plastic tube or messy paste. So Bite is all about not using plastics, which we love. They come in refillable glass jars and they send refills in compostable pouches, so they're better for our bodies and for the earth. They make plastic-free alternatives for everything on your bathroom sink, from toothpaste, mouthwash, toothbrushes, deodorant, so you can cut out the harsh chemicals and plastic waste without compromise. And the products are really, really good. And the tablets are made with clean ingredients. I was like, wait, what the heck is in this? Sulfate-free, palm oil-free, and glycerin-free. They taste delicious and get the job done. Y'all, run and order Bite. These toothpaste bits are my number one. And Bite is offering our listeners 20% off your first order when you go to trybite.com/almost30. That's TRYBITE.com/almost30. Or use the code almost30 at checkout to claim this deal. That's trybite.com/almost30. You'll get 20% off your first order. Oh, last night I had the best night's sleep. I put my new Buffy Cloud Comforter on my bed and snuggled in it. It truly kept me at the perfect temperature. Sometimes I have trouble staying cool, but this was cozy without overheating. Y'all, if you have not tried Buffy, here is your sign. Okay, so this comforter in particular is made with ultra breathable eucalyptus fabric. So this means it's sustainable because eucalyptus uses 10 times less water than cotton to grow, and its fiber is produced using recyclable earth-friendly solvents. It is softer than cotton, so it feels amazing on your skin. It's hypoallergenic. Plus, its high thread count shuts out dust, mold, and mites for a healthier sleeping environment. I am all about that. And it is machine washable. So it keeps all the fluff in place. I hate when it gets out of place, so I'm so excited about that because I like to wash my comforters on the regular. The Cloud Comforter's fill is made with 100% recycled water bottles. How cool. How cool. So it's given a second life to these pieces that could be in the ocean, and they're not. But it's so soft, so comfortable, breathable, keeps you at a cool temperature. Get yours now. Buffy offers a free trial, so you can try a comforter in your own bed for free. If you don't love it, return it at no cost. Okay, so if you want to try for $20 off your Buffy comforter, visit buffy.co and enter the code almost30. Okay, got that? buffy.co. Enter the code almost30 at checkout for $20 off your Buffy comforter. Run to get this comforter. They're going to sell out. I just know it. Buffy.co. Use the code almost30 for $20 off your Buffy comforter.
Everyone, the search is over.
Truly.
The search is literally over. People in our Facebook group and in our community membership are always like, what's the best natural deodorant? I can't find one that works, that smells good, that feels good. I'm blown away. I did not expect to have my natural deodorant needs solved with each and every. And honestly, I don't hate it. I'm so happy.
Yeah, well, the thing with natural deodorants, sometimes I would find that they would like feel weird on my skin. This is the smoothest, silkiest texture ever, and smells freaking amazing. I really love the cedar and vanilla. What do you love?
I love the coconut lime.
Yeah, I mean, they're all so delicious. This is a female-founded company. They reduce their carbon footprint. They are just doing it right and making clean products that are vegan and cruelty-free, that are really, really good for our bodies. We got to be very mindful of what we're putting on our skin.
I'm just grateful it works.
Same.
Do you know what I mean? I went through phases, and it was like...
She went through phases.
I think me and the world that I was with went through phases where I was like, oh, okay, I'm trying to do this, but it didn't feel like it was working. This feels amazing. The texture is super buttery, creamy. You can feel it going on. It smells good and it works.
Mm-hmm. So basically they have essential oils in the formula, and that is what is creating the scent. So it's all natural. And I think you're going to love it. Safe ingredients for your skin. And of course, we have a discount for you. Very excited for you to try each and every at eachandevery.com/almost30. Use the promo code almost30 to take 30% off. 30% off is a huge discount. Eachandevery.com. You're going to spell that out. /almost30 and use the promo code almost30 for 30%
Wow.
off your purchase. eachandevery.com/almost30. Use the promo code almost30.
Thank us later.
I am packing for my trip to LA. We got a big work trip ahead, and I am first packing my supplements. And so I wanted to go through some of my favorite Hum Nutrition supplements that keep me feeling incredible. So if you don't know Hum, first, let me explain. Hum is an incredible supplement brand that is clean, clinically proven, triple tested for purity, and all of their products have incredible potent effects. So beauty benefits, skin, hair, nails, brain health, digestion, you name it. Here are the top 3 I'm bringing with me. I'm bringing the Daily Cleanse. This helps clear skin and cleanse the body. I'm going to be eating healthy for the most part, but I always love taking Daily Cleanse at the end of the day. This really helps support the body's natural detoxification processes, supports elimination of impurities from the body, addresses breakouts at the source, so really has helped my skin stay clear. I'm also going to bring Mighty Night. So this is nighttime skin cell renewal. All right, can you tell I'm obsessed with keeping my skin healthy and clear? So this will help support healthy skin texture and tone, promotes optimal sleep, and supports cell turnover. It has antioxidant ferulic acid and CoQ10, helps combat free radicals. I'll be in LA, lots of free radicals flying around. It also has valerian root, passion flower, and hops. So you'll get that deep, deep sleep. And finally, I'm going to bring my Here Comes the Sun. This is supporting my immune system and boosts my mood. It is that vitamin D, baby. It's that vitamin D. Even though it might be sunny, I need to supplement because most of us don't get enough vitamin D. So if you need an upgrade in your supplement department, please go to humnutrition.com. We have been customers, fans forever. So humnutrition.com, use the code almost30. You'll get 20% off your first order of $29 or more. So that's humnutrition.com. Use the code almost30 for 20% off your first order of $29 or more. I want to talk about weight loss because I feel like we're marketed so many ways to lose weight. And obviously every single body is different. What have you seen in your base clients as like different markers that are pointing to reasons why they're not losing weight? I know we mentioned one before, but have there been any others?
Yes. So there are a couple of reasons that we see. Let's start with the most common, that is for women age 30 to 40.
Mm-hmm.
What we see a lot is that people tend to go into calorie restrictive diets. And from there, they stop burning fat. The reason here is we're going to talk about DHEA and testosterone again. We call these hormones fat burning hormones. What happens is that when you stop, you cut calories out, usually fats are the first ones to go out. And your body picks up on the fact that then you're not going to give, any fats to your body anymore. So it actually lowers the levels of the hormones that are in charge of burning fat. So that's basically going to prevent your metabolism to burn that. And that's just so interesting because it just one of the top one probably reason that we see.
Wow.
And it's just as easy as again, introducing some avocados, olive oil, nuts in a way that it's balanced and healthy, in order to see, that weight loss process kicking off again. Fat burning process. And then the other one, which is going to be really interesting, and again, weight, it's interesting because some people, something that I say often is like a pound of fat occupies so much more space than a pound of muscle. So sometimes also people start to work out, gain a lot of muscle. They actually, lose fat and they think that they're not losing weight, but that's another topic. The other one that we see often as well is going to be related to fruit and some carbs intake. So something that happens often is that people that go into a weight loss journey start to eat more fruit. And the fun fact about fruit is that it has fructose, which raises your leptin levels. Now, what's leptin? It's the hormone that we call it the hunger hormone. Okay. So it will make you hungry. So if you've ever heard, hey, if I eat an apple, I'm more hungry than before. Yes, correct.
Yes.
So the thing is that fruit, makes you hungrier. So it could, put you in a position where you eat more. That's why I also have my fruit at night, because if you make the comparison of like waking up and having an acai bowl with a lot of fruit, or like a smoothie, banana and apple smoothie, try to eat that and see like when is your next meal, versus if you wake up and you have a coffee with butter or like, coconut oil, try to see when do you need to have your next meal. It's usually going to have to be like, you can wait longer, right? So the reality is that a lot of people choose this type of diet that it's high in carbohydrates, or like the type of products that have like fake calories, and then your triglycerides go high. And that just will prevent weight loss again, because your insulin and glucose levels will become unstable, and your metabolic weight is gonna increase. So that's another big story that we see with our base members. And then of course working out is a part of the equation, right? And just moving around a bit, but we just rarely see that. A lot of the times, nutrition encompasses for 80% of your weight loss journey. Wow. Whether, of course, burning more calories is going to help. Setting the right building block with your diet is just going to be 80% of the effort.
And is there like common supplementation that you're seeing related to that is helpful?
So usually we treat this with nutritional supplementation. For the high triglycerides case, we recommend a lot of omega-3s because it counterbalances it. Okay. And then for testosterone, we have some that it's like one that is called Tribulus terrestris. Like again, I don't have the problem of low testosterone. Mine is more like high testosterone, so I'm not super familiar. But that one is one that gets recommended for people with low testosterone.
Yeah, I've been, supplements have been like a part of my routine for a long time. And often it's been confusing because I'll just kind of take what I think, I need. And the test showed that, and a lot of people have low vitamin D levels. It's super, super common, but I had like kind of just let go of my vitamin D supplement routine. And so especially as winter is upon us and there's not as much sunlight, I'm not out in the sun as much. That's been really, really helpful, especially for my energy levels and my brain fog. The brain fog thing is really interesting. I hadn't noticed it until this year. And it can be a little scary at times where I'm like, wow, because you go so long with it that you think that's just your new normal. And then when you have the right supplementation, right nutrition, etc., to know the contrast of when you are super sharp and super clear, it's pretty wild. So I'm telling as many people as possible, anyone that complains to me that they're just feeling a little off, like just a little like foggy, whatever, to get the answers, get the data, because it could be just one thing. It could be like just a little switch in your diet or add vitamin D supplementation that can make such a huge, huge difference. You mentioned before anxiety, and I'm curious, obviously over the last 2 years, I can imagine that like the levels of anxiety have just collectively been much, much higher for so many reasons, some more obvious than others. How do you see that represented in data, because it's something that I can't really wrap my head around as like quantitative, but
Yeah. And before we get to that question, to clarify on the supplements, again, it truly depends what you are trying to solve.
yes.
So for weight loss, supplements are not gonna truly get you there. Like maybe like here and there, it's mostly gonna be nutritional changes.
Good point.
But for things like fatigue or brain fog, supplements are going to be your best friend. Anxiety as well. We're going to talk about it in a second. But yeah, it truly depends on what issue you're trying to solve to like choose the right recommendation or like adjustment. So great point on that one. And then to your question about anxiety, I'm going to share a story that now is public, is in our blog. And it actually happened while doing a clinical trial, a case study.
Are you doing clinical trials all the time?
Not all the time. Like every time that we have a chance, like the team is, we are growing a lot. So the team is super busy, but maybe one every 2 months,
Great.
I would say. And then in this case, we were doing CBD. So we partner up with House of Wise, with Amanda.
I was going to say, I'm like, that's a perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. So we were actually running this where we recruited 20 subjects and 20 women in this case. So we wanted to measure the effects of CBD on your sex hormones. And we did the study, and some of our team members also participated. So long story short, what gets tested, your sex hormones are going to be estradiol, progesterone, testosterone, DHEA, but also your cortisol, your stress levels will play a big role on your sex drive. So we also look into cortisol and stress as a collateral effect to your sex drive. And we were in Miami getting ready to do this event with House of Wise and Amanda and the whole team that have the CBD gummies for sex. And I get a notification from the lab, one of our third-party labs, because I'm in the loop with the medical team. Every time that there are abnormal results, I see what's going on. And interestingly enough, I saw that someone had 3x more cortisol than the top range of the lab. So if the top range is 20, let's say, like this person had like 60.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh my God, this is the highest cortisol level that I've ever seen, that we've seen thus far. And when I looked at the name was Grace. It was a team member.
I was going to say, was this on your team?
Yeah, she was just sitting in front of me. And I'm like, Grace, like, what did you do before your test? And she's like, nothing. And I'm like, did you go out for a run? Like, did you like do the craziest high intensity training? Cause like your cortisol like raises when you're working out.
Sure.
Like, and I'm like, maybe she was in, I don't know, like in the bike or treadmill and spitting on the tool, collecting her sample.
Not recommended.
Not recommended. But I'm like, I don't know. Like,
wow.
And I was asking her, she's like, no, I just had a normal day. And I'm like, okay, I have to tell you something. This is going on. And it's interesting because for the longest time, she's been saying, I have anxiety. I have a lot of anxiety and work anxiety, right? And I'm like, yeah, chill, meditate. Like, this is what I do for my anxiety. I journal. I like organize my calendar. And she's like, no, I have anxiety. I have medication. Like, it's a different level, right? Like, there's like just an imbalance with your neurotransmitters in your brain that like, it is a chemical thing at the point. And well, at the time when we saw those results, we get on a call with our functional medicine doctor, the lead one, and we look at those results, and he's like, well, probably the app is telling her to decrease coffee intake. Grace, how much coffee do you have in a day? And she's like, well, I generally have like 5 cups.
Oh my God.
And like the doctor is like, yeah, sure thing. Like, of course you're going to be anxious because there's a loop on cortisol and anxiety.
Oh my God.
So basically the thing that happens, I don't know if this has happened to you before on Sundays, right? Like, let's just take as an example, Sunday scaries. try to do a Sunday where you have 3 cups or 4 cups of coffee, and like see how your Sunday scaries go up. And then try to do a Sunday where you limit your coffee intake if you tend to get anxious then, and see what happens. So the reality here is that cortisol is a hormone that gives you a feedback loop into your mental neurotransmitters that are in charge of that feeling anxiety.
Okay.
And at the time, she actually wrote a blog post, Grace, about her journey because she quit coffee. She replaced that for like tea and other things. She started, eating healthier and so forth, incorporated the in-app recommendations, and then she actually scaled back her anxiety prescription, which to us, it was shocking because there's so much that you can do when you have a problem where you need prescription. And this could be, for example, anemia as well, right? Like where you can control your iron levels or your cholesterol levels if you have cholesterol prescription or anxiety prescription. And there are things that you can do with your lifestyle and nutrition to actually scale that back. And then in her blog post, she shares a lot of her journey on like how frustrating that was, that she ended up learning about this because casually she was participating in a clinical trial about sex hormones effects and like, CBD and sex hormones and how that affects the biomarkers. And she got so frustrated that her psychiatrist and therapist, like no one had prescribed her a cortisol test.
Wow.
And she's like, yeah, like you go to a psychiatrist, you tell them how you're feeling. They immediately identify that you, of course, have, an imbalance and that you need prescription. But the question here is like, what else can we do so we can, maybe you need the prescription right away, but then through nutritional and lifestyle changes, you can really feel better in a way that you don't need that prescription anymore, or maybe you don't need the same dosage. So that's another thing where for us, it was so enlightening because at the time I didn't know about that correlation. I kind of experimented in myself, but I didn't put it together until then. And that's when we started, treating people that have severe anxiety and potentially are working already with medication to look into their hormones level and working on regulating those through lifestyle supplementation, lifestyle changes, from reducing coffee intake if they're already having coffee to a little bit of CBD. It's just super helpful. That those results on the clinical trial were wild. By the way,
I was gonna ask about that because I think sometimes people are like, oh, CBD, okay. I think the House of Y CBD in particular were partial, but I really felt the effects more than any other that I've tried. But what exactly did you see related to stress and especially the sex hormone?
Yeah, so what we saw is consistent after just a 3-day trial. The 20 members that participated had like an increase in like 20% or 30% in their sex hormones. So the results were quite shocking because in general, we don't see CBD having, like we don't see clinical trials have such a, unified effect.
Okay.
And to your point or to your question on how does CBD affect your hormones, it's a direct correlation and it's real time. It's very immediate. Something that I would have to say is that having the right amount and dosage is super important because prior to House of Wise, I was also trying Recess, the drink. The drink. And I would do an experiment. This would just be myself trying this out, where I would have 2 cans at night. And what happened, because I tend to have high cortisol because, the startup, like the company growing, we're growing a lot, always hiring, always growing. And I started taking the drink, the CBD drink, to reduce my cortisol levels, especially at night and in the evening. So my melatonin level. So especially if you get stressed at night, that's when you're not going to be able to get a good night's sleep or you're not going to be able to fall asleep easily. And then what happened is that I went from having high cortisol levels to really low, which I think that you
Wow.
mentioned adrenal fatigue before.
Yes.
So if your cortisol gets too low, that's also not good. You want it to be at the right level. And I've done several experiments at this point with different like brands of CBD and so forth. So the key here is that you always find what's the right dosage for your body to make sure that you also like don't get too groggy or too lethargic or like too fatigued. And you still have like the energy to power through.
Okay. And did you just experiment to find the right dosage, or is there a way to find the right dosage, or is it like the recommended on if it's a bottle or drops?
Yeah, I did experiment, basically like tested myself to find the sweet spot, but because now I try different products, and I don't want to be testing myself every 2 weeks for cortisol. I've also found a good way or hack to discover this if people don't want to get tested until finding that sweet spot. One hack here could be to actually sense how you're feeling in the morning. If you try to go for a run and then you feel like you just don't have the energy that you generally have, then I would say that you're having too much.
Okay.
And that's another thing. Generally recommend it at night, because in the morning, again, like if you really want to power through your workday, meetings, we've talked about brain fog. This will not give you brain fog, but again, could give you your speed would slow down a little bit. So generally I have it at night, and I would realize immediately if I had too much, if in the morning I am not feeling like as powerful as I usually am. So that's usually the effects of adrenal fatigue.
Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah. The anxiety piece is so fascinating. And I hope people really, really hear that on the coffee front. I'm a coffee lover, so I don't know if I only have 1 cup a day, but I have known people, even people in my family, who would have a few cups and just deal with really, really intense anxiety. And they're wondering why, but it's this loop of like, but I want to be focused and productive, or, I want to have energy, because I think anxiety sometimes can really exhaust you. And so it's this weird thing where you're like, but I need more energy, so let me do this. And then you're feeling the anxiety and you kind of drop, and then it's a loop. And I have this dream of like having these scales tip to where in the workplace, widespread, there is that awareness where there are more options. Late night, if you're at the office, maybe there is, a nootropic or something that like is more supportive than just like swimming in coffee and all of that. So I hope that our workplaces become like base where it is like much more supportive. I want to look briefly. I want to look just to share kind of an example. So I took my base test. Let's see. I took the focus test. I got a 62. Fair.
We can definitely improve that. I have to say that the minimum is like usually 50, because we don't want to freak out people. Yeah. So we definitely need to work on that.
Yes. Yeah, no, I feel it. I definitely experience the inability to focus, brain fog, all the things. So the score, my vitamin D levels were low, as I said. My HbA1c was healthy. It was like 74%. But the vitamin D recommendation was eating energizing proteins, vitamin D supplementation, energizing the body. So getting in the sun or a UV light exposure, which has been a little bit harder. But it's, I definitely feel it in the morning. So when I wake up in the morning, I was feeling more fatigued. It's improved a little bit, but I'm still on this journey. Did you ever experience like when you wake up in the morning, you're like, I can't, it's like you're in your body and you're looking around and you're like, I can't muster the energy to just get up.
It's so for me, like I think I master my like vitamins levels at this point. Cause again, like I get like through base, I test myself regularly. But then what happened to me was the cortisol, also the adrenal fatigue, or like when you don't get a good night's sleep, that's going to be another one too. But yeah, vitamin D is going to be really rough. And it's also, I don't know if you've gotten sick lately, but like generally could also impact your immune system as well.
Okay.
There were so many studies that came up around like vitamin D and COVID, which I have to say that there's a caveat on that because 80% of the population is deficient of vitamin D. So of course you can look at people who have COVID and say like, oh, 90% had like vitamin D deficiencies. Like, well, but the baseline is 80%.
Wow.
So something to note. But yeah, like vitamin D is definitely like going to play a big role on your energy, focus, and just so many other things that like supplementing is definitely like the best way to go. Whether again lifestyle and nutritional could help. Starting with a strong supplementation, especially if they were really low, is going to be the way to go. For me right now, I live in Miami, so I get so much sun exposure.
I'm a little jealous of the sun right now.
Yeah. But even people that live in Florida, like can be, vitamin D deficient. Actually, my mom in Spain, where I'm originally from, has a tendency to be vitamin D deficient, but I'm from south of Spain where we get tons of sun and still she managed to get like a severe vitamin D deficiency. So sometimes in addition to having vitamin D, we would recommend having vitamin A and E and K because that would help your body to absorb more vitamin D. So that's if you're really critical, we would also recommend those things to you.
Okay.
And the dosage is usually adjusted to your levels as well. But yeah, like that's vitamin D is going to be a huge thing for most of people.
And then my cholesterol and lipid test score, my HDL is low. So it says that I may not notice symptoms, but this is typically caused by ingesting too many carbohydrates and refined sugars, which is so interesting. I'm admittedly a very healthy eater, and I do think that in the last probably year or so, I have allowed myself, because I haven't seen the quote bad effects of it aesthetically, to eat more like pasta every once in a while for dinner, all these things. But clearly the levels are kind of showing a difference. What is HDL?
HDL is a type of cholesterol. So do you eat fruit?
I do.
Like how many pieces a day?
But not a lot. I guess my fruit intake would be like my smoothie. So I would say like maybe it's like a half a banana and like a quarter of a cup of blueberries, things like that. But it's not that much.
Yeah, if that's once a day, it should be fine.
Yeah.
How are your triglycerides?
Triglycerides, healthy. 93%.
Amazing. So, and your LDL?
My LDL is slightly high. This is 58%.
Ooh. Okay, so I think that the problem...
We're going to take a break and come right back.
Okay, so it seems like, given this combo, it's probably not the fruit. If not, your triglycerides will be really high.
Okay.
What's going to be, probably you're not balancing your fats the right way.
I know.
This is what's telling us. Like one type of cholesterol is really high and the other type of cholesterol is really low.
Okay.
So what this is telling us is probably that we need to adjust the fat intake a little bit to make those balance.
I do like my Kerrygold butter when I cook, but not that much, but like it's probably more than the average person.
Yeah. So something that I did, for example, is I stopped cooking with butter.
Okay.
And then I started cooking with olive oil or coconut oil. But then I still sometimes have my butter in my coffee, or like I put it on top of, I have a little bit with my meals, but instead of using it for cooking, I just have it like, raw as it comes on top of some, like a steak, if I'm having, red meat that week, or in my coffee sometimes. And that helped.
Okay. I do cook with olive oil, but not as, I don't know what it was. I never ate butter as a child, teen, even into my 20s. And now I'm like, I love me some Kerrygold. So I'm going to be more aware of that. I guess the one thing that I wonder about, and this is a little bit off topic, but the cooking oils, it's like you can only cook them at a certain temperature, especially the coconut and the olive oil to a certain temperature. So I'm just kind of mindful of that. Avocado's much higher. It's like 500 degrees, I think you can cook with.
I'm not sure about avocado, but coconut between olive oil, coconut, and butter. Coconut is the one that has the highest threshold point. So usually it's healthier to cook with.
Okay.
But then I just do regular olive oil because I like it a little bit better.
I know.
And I try to not char my food.
Yes.
So I try to, I'm mindful of the temperature of the pan as well.
Yeah. Okay. And then my cholesterol is slightly high, which you said is not terrible. It's 62%.
What's the actual value?
175.849.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
I would say probably just, so at the end of the day, it's just balancing your fats the right way. I don't think that you're too far, just to make you feel hopeful. Totally. Because your triglycerides, looking at the bright side, your triglycerides are fine, stable, super healthy. Just more switching your fats intake a bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it makes total sense. I'm really not honest with myself about my butter intake, so I think it's about time. But yeah, I've just had such a really good time doing this. I just kind of want to tell people that, because I think sometimes, as I said in the beginning, the truth about your health can be a little confronting and a little overwhelming. But I'm even just scrolling the app right now, and it just makes it so easy and actionable, which I think is so helpful. So we don't mull over, okay, what does this mean for me? It's no, you can actually start improving it today. So kudos, major kudos to you all. Lastly, I just want to tease everyone. I think that, this episode is going to be out after the debut of the skin test coming out.
Yes.
Let's tease them.
Yes. Super excited about that.
Yeah. What will this measure? And what is the test? Is it a blood test, saliva test?
It's going to be a saliva test. So good news.
Sometimes I like the blood better. It's weird.
Well, I like it better sometimes, especially if you're skipping the 3 times a day, because that gets me as a busy person. I'd rather, because I don't mind pricking myself.
Yes.
That other one doesn't have a time restriction versus the saliva test doing it 3x. But this one actually is going to be just in the morning. So,
okay.
Yeah, great news.
Cool.
And we're going to be measuring testosterone and DHEA, and also estradiol and progesterone for women.
Okay.
And that's what we are going to be, in cortisol morning as well. And we're going to be getting a read, especially for people that have acne or some dryness or hormonal skin issues. We're going to be looking into those and adjusting their nutrition and lifestyle to make sure that we fix those from the root cause. Especially a good fit for those like me that have tried so many different skin products and cleansers and they have not been working out. And that's where we think we're going to be making the most impact for people looking for, things like brightness or other, skin condition fixes or like Botox or so forth, or like facials. That's not going to be the right solution for you, but it's mostly again, if you're looking to understand your hormones and then you see a pattern in between your cycle and your skin, that's where we can help you the most.
Great. I'm excited. I know a lot of people in our audience deal with skin issues, especially hormonal skin issues. So this will be so helpful. And can we just reiterate the importance of retesting? because I love the model of base, because I think for me, it holds me accountable to retesting, to improving, to kind of sticking to it and actually seeing results. So when after people take the kind of quiz and everything like that, there is a way to become a member. So what does that look like?
Yeah. So after you get your first set of results, we would ideally, or like in 95% of cases, we discover where that's coming from. There are in some cases 5% where we need to do additional testing, but that's rare. And then what we would do is we get you to pick a recommendation, or let us know if some of our recommendations don't work with you for whatever reason. And based on that, and then the science team will figure something out for you. What's going to happen is that you will commit to those, and then you will commit to your next test. It's like, yeah, I'm going to do this, and we're going to retest this level that we are fixing by this date, right? So usually by the time that you've received results, that will be like 21 days from then.
Okay.
And then you start implementing that, that nutritional recommendation or taking that supplement. And another, exciting component here is that we are launching our integration with Amazon. So you can literally add brands that the base team loves and buys, like from our base app, you can add those to your Amazon cart.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes, like we actually don't make a profit out of that. It's just that it happens constantly that people reach out to us through the in-app chat being like, okay, where do I get my vitamin D supplementation?
Sure.
Or where do I get this omega-3? What brand? What dosage? Like, just tell me, give me a button to click so it gets home and that's it.
So smart.
So we actually compile with our nutritionists and doctors like a list of like good brands that we buy. So you can just directly add that to your Amazon cart. And then again, 21 days after that, you would receive another test at home, or like, Quest order. So you can go into Quest with our app and you would retest that hormone, that vitamin, that nutrient that was off, in hopes that we actually have improved that. Again, what we want to is to empower you to also improve something, see the delta, see the difference, and give you hope back again that we are actually getting you there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good. So easy. Really excited. And in the intro, and I think also the outro, we have our discount information for our listeners. But it's been so cool to partner with you, and I'm excited. I think these types of resources are the ones that are going to really support people in being who they want to be and doing what they want to do in the world. It starts from within. It starts with our health. So I'm excited. And if people want to connect with you, connect with Base, can you let them know where?
Yes. So get_base on Instagram. I am Lola Priego on Instagram too. More active on Twitter, gotta say, as a tech person.
I gotta get my Twitter game up.
I know.
It's dead right now.
I know. I guess that my Instagram is more like, you can follow my personal life, which I work out a ton and, it's not super exciting and I work. So like, short, but mostly like get_base. I actually, if people do our quiz, they will get the founder newsletter too. That is great. Once a month, I sit down and I distill my thoughts on like, how can we make healthcare personalized? So some of that, for the more like business driven people, or like, like people that want to see the system being changed. And yeah, so we're super active there. We also have a customer service chat, which the entire team sits down together and look at those tickets every day for 30 minutes. Wow. Although we do have like now, because of the volume, customer service agents, I still get notified with every ticket, and I still, go through those on the weekends when I have a chance to just kind of keep an eye on what's going on.
Wow, that's a lot of dings on the phone. I hope the notification. Awesome. Well, thank you for being here. I'm so glad we could do in person. I'm going to follow you back to Miami, get my vitamin D. But thank you all for listening. We appreciate it. And we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lola. Again, you can get your first month of Base at 20% off with code almost30. And then you can dig into all the results on the app that have been so helpful for Lindsey and I.
And thank you to our sponsors for this episode. In addition to Base, we have Buffy, Each and Every, Hum Nutrition, Bite, and Athletic Greens. You can find all discount information in our show notes as well as on our website, almost30.com/partners. Thank you all for listening. Make sure you're subscribed to Almost 30 so that every new episode can hit your inbox. We will see you on the next one.
We will see you soon. We love you. Bye.